I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We are again returning to the Gospels. Christ has been ministering now for about a year. He spent some time in Jerusalem, but they want to kill him there, so most of his time is spent up in Galilee, particularly in the area of Capernaum in the northwestern part. He ordained the 12 apostles. We read many sermons, many parables, many miracles, and he has sent the 12 out on their missions as companionships. Sent them out 2 by 2. Now the last thing we read was the execution of John the Baptist, when Herod had him beheaded. And then we read a little bit in the Book of Mormon, so that the Book of Mormon narrative has caught up to the Gospels. Now, this one we are going to read. This is recorded in all 4 Gospels. It's one of the few stories that is in all 4 Gospels. But we're going to start this time in Mark. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. Now, what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. Mark chapter 6, verses 30 through 44. And the apostles gathered themselves together unto Jesus, and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said unto them, Come ye yourselves apart into a desert place, and rest a while. For there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure so much as to eat. And they departed into a desert place by ship privately. And the people saw them departing, and many knew him, and ran afoot thither out of all cities, and outwent them, and came together unto him. And Jesus, when he came out, saw many people, and was moved with compassion toward them, because they were as sheep, not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. And when the day was now far spent, his disciples came unto him and said, This is a desert place, and now the time is far spent. Send them away, that they may go into the country round about, and into the villages, and buy themselves bread, for they have nothing to eat. And he answered and said unto them, Give ye them to eat. And they say unto him, Shall we go and buy 200 pennyworth of bread, and give them to eat? He saith unto them, How many loaves have ye? Go and see. And when they knew, they say, 5, and 2 fishes. And he commanded them to make all sit down by companies upon the green grass. And they sat down in ranks by hundreds and by 50s. And when he had taken the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven and blessed, and brake the loaves, and gave them to his disciples to set before them. And the 2 fishes divided he among them all. And they did all eat, and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments and of the fishes. And they that did eat of the loaves were about 5,000 men. We talk about this as the feeding of the 5,000. But remember, this is just the men, 5,000 men. There were likely, might not have been as many women or children, but there were definitely some in there. I personally would estimate that the total number was between 5,000 and 6,000. But Mark here is again showing us the human side of Christ. And as I've said in many videos, Christ was seeking a place to be alone. As Mark says, they had no leisure time. They couldn't sit down and eat a meal without being bombarded by throngs of people coming to see, to hear Christ, and to be healed. Now, the 12 had been sent off on their missions. We read that they're just returning, and they're kind of giving their mission report. They're reporting back to Christ. This is what we've been doing. This is the success we've been having. And Christ saying, well, let's get into the ship, and we'll go over here, where we can be alone, and we can talk, and we can have a good meal. The people see where he's going. And people know who he is, and they kind of know where he's going. So they all run on foot. He's going by ship down the shore. They all run by foot, and they get there first. Now, when Christ comes out, he says, he has compassion on them. They're seeking his help. They're seeking his wisdom. And so he teaches them. But it takes all day. And then we have this miracle of the feeding of the 5,000. But you can see Mark is showing us that Christ, he wanted his time, his private time. He wanted to be alone with his close associates. And the people just weren't letting him. Let us now take a look at the Joseph Smith translation. In verse 30, it just changes that first word from and to now. Simple. Verse 31, desert is changed to solitary. And at the end, it says, no leisure so much as to eat. We have not so much as to eat. Clarification, minor grammatical change. Again, 32, desert changed to solitary. And in 33, it says, and many knew him, corrected to many knew Jesus, and instead of outwent, it is corrected to outran. In 34, having compassion toward them is pluralized, having compassion towards them. 35, again, desert is corrected to solitary place. And at the end there, so that now the time is far past. And that is corrected, and now the time for departure is come. So it's not like it's midnight, but it's time for the people to go home and get dinner. Verse 38 changes saith to said. In verse 41, we have some minor corrections that the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, we just removed the word the, it's just 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And near the end there it says, and gave them to his disciples to set before them. Correction, and gave to his disciples to set before the multitude. Only some minor grammatical corrections. So I will leave that here. We will read this next in Luke, then we will read it in Matthew, and then John.